most pernicious of all is a new campaign that has largely eluded journalistic scrutiny. David Ellison is the son of one of the richest people on the planet, Oracle founder Larry Ellison. With his inherited billion-dollar fortune, Ellison, the son, is now buying Paramount, the company that owns, among other things, CBS News. The Ellison family is one of the most devout and fanatical supporters of Israel anywhere. They have donated and raised hundreds of millions of dollars, likely billions, to support this foreign country and to keep Americans supporting it as well. Not only is this billionaire heir to this fortune that he didn't earn but just received now in the process of buying CBS News and all of its related media companies, but he is also planning on placing another person whose primary cause is Israel, Bari Weiss, at the center of CBS News, perhaps with substantial editorial influence or even control over it. Paramount, which is the parent company of CBS, the corporate parent of CBS, which has not just CBS entertainment properties, but CBS News, 60 Minutes, all of the flagship programs of CBS, the morning show that have been influential in the United States for many decades, is up for sale. And the entity which is attempting to purchase it, to purchase Paramount and all of the entities that go with it, including CBS News, is being led by the son of one of the world's richest people, the world's richest person being Larry Ellison, the multi-billionaire, net worth of something like $60-70 billion, who founded Oracle, the Silicon Valley company, back in the 1990s, became one of the top 10 richest people on the planet. As a result, he is a fanatical supporter of Israel. And his little boy, his son, is now inheriting the fortune. He's an heir to the fortune, like a little princeling, which is how so much of our world works, even though we thought we had liberated ourselves from that with British aristocracies and landed gentry and the like. You see this everywhere. And the son's name is David Ellison, and he is at least as fanatical of a supporter of Israel as his father is. They're both American citizens, but Israel, the foreign country Israel, is their focus. Here from the Jerusalem Post, and Israeli media describes things in this way, in a way that American media can't for obvious reasons, but Jerusalem Post is a very mainstream newspaper in Israel. July 31st, 2024, there's the headline, Jewish business leaders transform the media landscape with an $8 billion deal. Quote, in a groundbreaking strategic move reshaping the U.S. media market, Brandon Korf, heir to the Paramount empire, has decided to sell control of the media and film empire to David Ellison, heir to Larry Ellison's media empire. So you have two pro-Israel heirs to billionaire fortunes doing a little game with each other, selling Paramount from one to the other. The deal, valued at $8 billion, stands out as one of the most significant and intriguing transactions in the U.S. media market, showcasing the next generation of the world's most influential Jewish business leaders. These two young men love Israel, are connected to their Judaism, have Zionist values, and it's very encouraging to see that in such successful families, the values are passed on to the younger generations. Both quietly donate quite a bit to the State of Israel and the IDF. It is positive news for the Jewish world that Korf and Ellison are the next generation of global Jewish leadership connected to Israel and holding Zionist values. And then bizarrely, the article ends with this phrase. This article was written in cooperation with Skydance. Skydance is the corporate entity that was formed by the Ellisons to buy Paramount. So I don't know what this arrangement was exactly, but according to the Jerusalem Post, the article that they reported on these two Jewish billionaires in their plan to transfer the control of Paramount and CBS News from one to the other with all of their pro-IDF and pro-Israel values was an article written in cooperation with the company itself, like almost like an ad or a press release. Here's his dad, Larry Ellison. This is back in 2014, which was another time when Israel was massively bombing Gaza, not anywhere near like now, but killing thousands of people. That was during the Obama administration. And here was Larry Ellison. He went on Channel 10 in Israel. I believe he was in Israel at the time, and this is what he said.
Tell us, what is your connection to Israel?
Well, the renewal of the Jewish state is something that I think touches all of us. For 2,000 years, we were a stateless people. And now we have a country of our own, defended by all the brave men and women of the IDF. So anything we can do to support them, who devote their lives for preserving the state of Israel, keeping the people safe, and allowing our state to continue sometimes in very, very difficult situations.
Did you visit Israel?
Now, I realize some people are sensitive about this. It plays into tropes and stereotypes and the like. But, you know, like any kind of reporting, you should be careful about how you report this. But the converse is, what are you supposed to do? Not report on the world's richest and most influential people? Not report on who they are, who's about to buy Paramount and CBS? Not report on what their agenda is? Not report on what they've said, what they've done, where they put their money, what their intentions are? That would be a dramatic and inexcusable abdication of responsibility. Again, those statements were in October 2023 that we just heard from Larry Ellison about how great and how much he loves the IDF. Those are from 2014. Here's Variety in November of 2017, titled Friends of Israel Defense Forces, Friends of the IDF Gala raise a record-breaking $53.8 million. These are American citizens raising money for a foreign military, the IDF. Friends of the IDF raised a record $53.8 million at its annual Western Region Gala on Thursday night held at the Beverly Hills Hilton Hotel. The figure represents the most money raised at any single FIDF event in the organization's history. The sold-out gala, which has become one of Los Angeles' premier charitable events, united some 1,200 supporters from across the country to support the brave men and women of the IDF. The top donation announced at the event, and the largest single gift in FIDF's history, was $16.6 million from Oracle co-founder, executive chairman, and chief technology officer Larry Ellison, the dad of the person who's about to buy Paramount and CBS. His donation will support the construction of well-being facilities on a new training campus for the IDF's COID infantry units. Should that even be legal, to be a U.S. citizen on U.S. soil raising money to fund a foreign military directly outside of the U.S. government? There's been a lot of controversies with CBS specifically. There's been 60-minute segments that made the mistake, committed the crime of reporting on the horrific suffering imposed on the people of Gaza by Israel. That caused a lot of controversy, a lot of accusations that 60 Minutes and CBS News were anti-Semitic and anti-Israel, the outlets that are now about to fall under the control of the Ellison family. Here from CBS News, CNBC News, just to give you a sense for where this transaction is, the FCC approves the $8 billion Paramount Skydance merger. This is from July 24th. Now, one of the reasons why this was so controversial is because Donald Trump had a lot of problems with 60 Minutes and CBS. He was furious about the way they edited the Kamala Harris interview on 60 Minutes, and he sued 60 Minutes. Which, I mean, as a lawyer, I can't even conceive of how that lawsuit could even be remotely viable. But he was the president. His administration is in power, and Skydance needs the approval of the FCC in order to merge with Paramount and have these two billionaires become the little princes of this new fiefdom. And I don't think Donald Trump is going to give that while that suit is pending, so they paid him $15 million to settle the suit. I think they made it a payment to his library fund. And then at the same time, that was the concern about the firing of Stephen Colbert. Now, I think Stephen Colbert is talentless and boring. He's turned himself into a sanctimonious liberal hack, a glorified MSNBC host. His show bleeds $40 million a year. They lose $40 million a year. But those shows are willing to sustain those kind of losses because it's a part of the franchise and a staple of the network for a long time. And so the idea was Stephen Colbert is I think very trite and very boring and very unimaginative, but still very vocal Trump opponent. And that in order to get this deal done, Paramount and CBS had to please the Trump administration. And one of the ways they did that, beyond paying $50 million, was to fire Stephen Colbert. But in any event, whatever the reasons, whatever they did, congratulations to them. This merger is about to go through, which means that David Ellison is about to be in control of CBS and Paramount. And there have been a lot of reports like this about the role of Bari Weiss in all of this. Here from The Status, June 24th, quote, headline, "A Word to the Weiss." David Ellison has quietly courted Bari Weiss for a possible role at CBS News, a move that hints at how he may steer the network if his merger goes through. Yeah, I think it hints quite a bit at how he might steer the network if the merger goes through. Late last year, during a trip to New York City, David Ellison quietly made time for a meeting that said as much about his worldview as it did about his interest in media. According to people familiar with the matter, the Hollywood scion set time aside on his busy calendar to meet with Bari Weiss, the founder of the Free Press. Ellison, like a number of corporate suite executive types, has long been an admirer of Bari Weiss's style of journalism, I'm told, viewing her as one of the most compelling voices in the shifting landscape of independent journalism. I wonder if her steadfast, lifelong, fanatical devotion to the state of Israel, which he shares, is one of the reasons he finds her so compelling. Do you think that might be the case? Quote, during the meeting, Ellison, who is set to control CBS News once the Paramount Global Skydance media deal closes, expressed strong interest in recruiting Bari Weiss to work in some capacity with the network, according to people familiar with the matter. The New York Times reported on July 11th, Skydance is in early talks to buy the Free Press. David Ellison, the chief executive of the media company Skydance, has recently held early discussions about acquiring the Free Press, the online publication co-founded by Bari Weiss. Ms. Weiss, who started the Free Press in 2021 with her wife and sister, has positioned the company as a brash alternative to traditional media organizations. Someone please tell me what the Free Press publishes that is outside of the mainstream, that offends people in power. Someone just please give me one example of this brashness. We just got done hearing that everybody in corporate America loves Bari Weiss, thinks that the Free Press is fantastic. How anti-establishment and brash is the Free Press if America's major power centers are drowning it in money and loving it, and CBS's new owner is ready to elevate it and her to a central position in the editorial direction of the network? The Free Press, alongside the venture capitalists Mark Andreessen and David Sachs and the former Starbucks chief executive Howard Schultz. That Allen & Company is a shareholder in the Free Press, alongside with those luminaries who have great influence in the White House. These are anything but anti-establishment voices. These are the voices of the American establishment propping up and supporting the Free Press. So you can love the Free Press, you can think it's fantastic, but please don't come and tell me that it's heterodox or that it speaks truth to power or prints things that everybody else is afraid to print. What are those things? And if that's true, why does every powerful person seemingly in the United States love the Free Press and are eager to elevate it to the center of our media life? There's been reports that they want to pay Bari Weiss $250 million, that she might actually become. Here from the Financial Times, Bari Weiss seeks more than $200 million for a media startup at the Free Press. She's met with David Ellison, the incoming owner of CBS News. There's reports that she might actually be an ombudsman. The ombudsman is Ryan here. I want to get to Ryan Grimm, who has a new typically rigorous investigative story that he co-authored with our other friend Murtaza Hussain at Dropsite News, the excellent news outlet that they co-founded. All right, so I don't know how much of you heard of that, but I wanted to just kind of set up what seemed. We don't know for certain that Bari Weiss is going to integrate into Paramount and CBS News, but it's certainly serious efforts are being made. There's a lot of reporting. I've heard a lot of things about this as well. Everything from CBS buying for the Free Press to making Bari Weiss a 60 Minutes correspondent or some sort of ombudsman who makes sure that CBS News is unbiased. But you have an article about the Free Press, which is the vehicle that she uses to further her various agendas. And it's on Dropsite. It's with Maz Hussain. And the title of it is "A Pro Nonprofit is Funneling News Content Through Bari Weiss's Free Press." And it's not so much about the funding of the Free Press. Instead, it's about where a lot of her content is coming from and the coordination of it with at least the agenda of the Israeli government, if not the Israeli government itself. And it focuses on this entity, the Center for Peace Communications. A very nice sounding, very inoffensive name, the Center for Peace Communications. Who could be against that? So can you talk about what it is that you found in terms of how these entities function?
Yeah, if you think about Bari's news organization, the Free Press, it's broken into opinion, analysis, like hot takes, and then occasionally they have some actual hard reporting, from the Middle East, and in particular, sometimes from Gaza and from Israel. And so we started taking a closer look at the reports that were coming out of there because we didn't think, wait a minute, there are Palestinian journalists who are working for the Free Press. This is an interesting development. Let's take a closer look at this. But it turned out no, because Western journalists are not allowed into Gaza because they're blocked by Israel. But there are a ton of journalists who are in Gaza that Western news outlets like DropSite and others, can work directly with. You create a relationship with them and you publish their reporting. That's not exactly what the Free Press was doing. Every article where they had hard reporting coming out of the region was partnered with this organization that you just named, the CPC, the Center for Peace Communications. And you don't have to look much further into it to figure out exactly what's going on with it. But if you peel back and look who the donors are to CPC and who the board members are and who the kind of leadership is, it very quickly becomes obvious that this is a hardcore kind of pro-Israel organization in Washington. The most prominent board member at this group is a guy named Dennis Ross, who I'm sure you're very familiar with throughout the years. He's been, since the 1990s, going in and out of different administrations in both parties, and what was always known as, one of Israel's greatest allies within whatever administration he was in. So as soon as you see Dennis Ross on there, like, okay, we kind of get a clear idea of what's going on. Some of the donors to this organization are also donors to this organization called FDD, Foundation for Defense of Democracies. And when they say democracies, plural, they mean Israel being the only democracy in the Middle East as it's trademarked, and then the United States being a democracy. So we're defending the relationship among these democracies. FDD is this notorious kind of pro-Israel organization in Washington.
Like hardcore,
so once you see
warmonger, neocon, like one of the worst, most extreme, going back a couple decades at least. So
right, they have never met a scenario where they didn't want to use American weapons to resolve it.
Or American force on behalf of Israel.